So the sole administrator has gone ahead to appoint 23 other sole administrators at the local government level in spite of a court order 24 hours before the court order actually came. Is there any law that empowers a sole administrator of a state to go ahead within the circumstances, to pick, make these appointments?
Illegality begets illegality, and until there is a correction by the person who has the power to do it, in this case, the president. The concept of a sole administrator is strange and unknown to Nigerian constitution, and it's important that we remind the brilliant and exceptional advisors of our president that these things must go according to law. Section 1 of the Nigerian Constitution says that no part of the federation, the whole federation, and no part of it, no person can take it over, can take over the federation or any part of it, except in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. So, as we speak, Rivers State has been taken over by a sole administrator that is unknown to law. And while Nigerians are grappling with that, the said personality, which is operating as an illegal personality, now goes ahead to take decisions that are supposed to be political. And now that's the problem. Let's understand that, whereas it's in the news, I haven't verified it, whereas for certain reasons, monies that are accruable to Rivers State were seized by the federal government as a result of a court order.
Based on the Supreme Court.
Based on an order of the court, the Supreme Court. Yeah, and then that's for an elected governor. So on what basis should an unelected personality unknown to the people of Rivers State in terms of its politics now begin to take consequential actions? I think the president must be reminded that it's a dangerous precedent to disregard the provisions of the Constitution.
How does this render the appointments made by the sole administrator? He has 6 months to go.
The sole administrator is on a mission of confusion, to exacerbate the troubling situation in Rivers State. And the president knows it now. And the sole administrator thinks like a military man. I mean, there was really nothing that stopped the president for asking to ask the chief of defense staff to move his men there to restore order. And then one can understand, because chief of defense staff or any of the service chiefs, they have constitutional authority. But for goodness sake, a civilian from another state, I mean, from nowhere, and this is an appointment as sole administrator, and then he begins to take political decisions, further annoying the people, creating the crisis in Rivers State.
Now, these appointments now and other decisions taken by the sole administrator, including, of course, the disbursement of funds, people are asking, are we sure that Fubara will come back after the 6-month tenure of this sole
Fubara is still...
If that's not, what happens then?
Oh, no. I think we shouldn't be unnecessarily preemptive. And
okay.
Let's take it as a matter of fact. Fubara is the governor of Rivers State. The president is on a pathway of disregard,
but there are reports that his photographs have been taken away from,
I mean,
vital,
So this, and I want us to face this. President Tinubu must agree and understand that he has the same powers of an executive president, just like the governor, because these powers are derivable from the Constitution. If the Constitution says, do not take over or govern any part of this federation except according to the provisions of the Constitution, Mr. President, would you want your powers also to be limited in any way with your regards to your powers to govern this federation? You don't do that to a governor. And I will put my life on the line if anybody tries to, reduce the power of the president or take over the powers of the president against the provisions of the Constitution. I will do that for President Tinubu. Therefore, President Tinubu cannot sit as president under the powers of this Constitution and take away the powers of an elected governor. And everybody, with all of these people advising, everybody's quiet. The only persons who are supposed to be in the National Assembly, look, we are in a republic, and that means that
we don't have to go to the street. That's why we elected people into the parliament. They are supposed to call the president to order. Now they are going to the Supreme Court. What will the Supreme Court say? And then the Supreme Court will state, as it is, it now has a new posture of now washing his hands off political matters. So the president will say, the Supreme Court will tell them and say, look, it's a matter for the National Assembly to decide, to delimit your powers when it has to do with state of emergency. For goodness sake, President Tinubu knows the right thing to do.
What is that right thing?
The right thing is that do not appoint a sole administrator. It is unknown. It's an aberration. Sack him today. Restore the governor to his place. Appoint, tell the chief of defense staff to take necessary measures and restore whatever peace you want in Rivers State. The same thing you need to do in Borno State and the rest of this country that is seriously on the tenterhooks and teetering on terrible insecurity. We have an existential problem, and you don't exacerbate it by disregarding openly the provisions of the Constitution. President Tinubu was told the right path, and it's the path according to law.